Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. The station never slept. It hummed, rattled, groaned, and complained, like an old machine held together by stubbornness and bad decisions. Dock Ring 7 was the worst of it. The lights flickered when they felt like it. The air always smelled faintly of metal, oil, and overheated wiring. Jonah Rook had lived there for 9 years. Long enough that the noise felt normal, long enough that silence made him uneasy. His apartment sat wedged between a cargo lift and an exhaust conduit that vented once every 6 hours with a sound like a dying animal. The walls were thin. The floor slanted slightly left. The door only locked if you kicked it once before turning the handle. Jonah called it home. That night the hum felt different. Not louder, not quieter, just close, like the station was listening. Jonah sat at his table. If a scratched metal slab balanced on 2 mismatched supports could be called a table, with a half-empty glass in his hand. The liquid inside was amber, strong, and very illegal on at least 3 systems. His friends crowded the room. Mechanics, loaders, pilots between contracts. Boots were kicked off. Jackets hung from exposed wires. Someone had put music on, old human rock that the station AI kept trying to enhance with alien harmonics until everyone yelled at it to stop. To Empress Kale, someone said, raising their glass. Laughter filled the room. To the Iron Empress, another added, may she never visit this dump. Jonah snorted and took a drink. You know, he said, leaning back and nearly falling off his chair, if Kale ever saw this place, she'd declare it a crime scene. She'd glass the whole ring, his roommate Leo said, starting with that couch. Jonah looked at the couch. The fabric was patched in at least 4 colors. One corner had a burn mark shaped vaguely like a screaming face. She wouldn't survive it, Jonah said seriously, not without armor. More laughter. Empress Kale ruled the dominion of 12 sectors, trade routes, fleets, entire civilizations. Everyone knew her face, sharp eyes, pale skin, silver crest markings along her temples that marked her as Virelian, almost human, close enough to make people uncomfortable. Artists adored her, politicians feared her. Jonah mostly thought she looked tired. The conversation drifted, as it always did, toward complaints, broken engines, unfair contracts, people in power who had never turned a wrench in their lives. At some point, someone dared Jonah to write her a letter. A real one, Leo said, grinning. Tell her what you think. Jonah laughed so hard he had to set his glass down. Right, he said. I'll just explain galactic economics from my broken chair. No, another voice said, a personal letter. A love letter, someone added. That set the room off again. Jonah wiped his eyes. I am not sober enough for poetry. That's when the truth leaks out, Leo said. Jonah glanced at the desk in the corner, tools, data slates, and a small stack of real paper he kept out of habit. The idea was stupid. Which made it perfect. Fine, he said. But when this ruins my life, I'm haunting all of you. He grabbed a sheet and a pen that somehow still worked. The room quieted as he stared at the blank page. Then he started writing. He wrote about engines and gravity and how everything broke eventually. He joked about being a nobody mechanic in a nowhere station. He exaggerated shamelessly, braver, smarter, smoother than reality allowed. And then, without planning to, he wrote something real. He wrote that ruling an empire must be lonely, that everyone around her probably spoke in rehearsed sentences, that no one told her the truth unless it was safe. He wrote that if she ever wanted someone to be honest, even when it was inconvenient, he could do that. He admitted the letter was stupid, that he was stupid, that it was probably a mistake. He signed it with a crooked flourish and read it out loud. The room erupted. You're dead, someone said. So dead, another agreed. Jonah folded the letter and waved it off. Relax, it's not leaving this apartment. He tossed it onto the desk. The night dissolved into noise and laughter. People drifted out. Promises were made and forgotten. Jonah collapsed onto the couch, boots still on, the station rocking him towards sleep. Above the station, systems blinked, cargo moved, messages moved. The universe rearranged itself. Jonah woke up with a headache and regret. Artificial sunlight stabbed through the window. He groaned and sat up too fast. Leo stood by the kitchenette, humming. "Please tell me," Jonah said, "that I did not challenge a cargo captain to a duel." "No," Leo said cheerfully, "worse." Jonah squinted. "Define worse." "You mailed the letter." The silence was absolute. "I did what?" "Priority mail," Leo added. "Official channel." Jonah stared at him. "It'll get filtered," Jonah said weakly. "Burned, deleted." "Delivered," Leo said. Jonah laughed, because the alternative was screaming. "Fine," he said finally. "If the Empress wants to read nonsense from a hungover mechanic, that's her problem." 3 days, he thought. Plenty of time for the universe to forget a joke. The universe did not forget. The interstellar mail system did not care about intent. The letter was scanned, translated, flagged as personal correspondence to a reigning sovereign, and upgraded automatically. No one questioned it. 3 light-years away, the letter arrived at the Imperial Citadel. It passed security, molecular scans, threat analysis, psychological filters. No alarms. It landed on a crystalline desk among treaties and war projections. Empress Kale was in council when it arrived. The chamber curved around her, star maps glowing as borders shifted. Voices argued calmly, carefully. She listened with practiced patience. When her aide leaned in and whispered about personal correspondence, Kale almost dismissed it. Almost. Later, alone in her private study, she picked up the letter. She expected praise, demands, thinly veiled ambition. She broke the seal without interest. By the 3rd sentence, she frowned. By the 5th, she leaned back. The tone was wrong, too honest, too clumsy. It mocked power, then apologized, then did it again. She laughed. The sound startled her. She read about engine, about broken things, about loneliness. When she finished, she sat in silence. No strategy, no agenda, just a man who assumed he would never be heard. "That," she said softly, "is dangerous." She summoned her aide. "Who is Jonah Rook?" The display appeared. Human mechanical engineer, Dock Ring 7. "No significance," the aide said. Kale smiled. "Yes," she said, "that's the problem." Back on the station, Jonah argued with a food synthesizer that refused to produce coffee. The knock came, polite, controlled, wrong. Jonah opened the door. A woman stood in the corridor, tall, composed, Virean markings along her temples. She held a folded letter. Jonah closed the door. Opened it again. She was still there. "Either I'm hallucinating," Jonah said, "or my building has improved." "Jonah Rook," she said calmly, "you wrote me a letter." The universe tilted. Jonah Rook stood frozen in his doorway. The woman waited patiently, as if standing in a broken corridor outside a mechanic's apartment was the most normal thing in the universe. Her posture was perfect, calm, controlled. The long silver markings along her temples confirmed what Jonah's brain desperately tried to deny. Empress Kale of the Dominion. In Dock Ring 7. Holding his letter. Jonah laughed. It burst out of him, sharp and disbelieving. "Nope," he said, "I've officially lost it." Kale did not react. She unfolded the paper and held it up. Jonah recognized his handwriting instantly, crooked, messy, smudged with something that was definitely not ink. "Oh," he said faintly, "you're real." "Yes," Kale replied. "You closed the door on me." Instinct, Jonah said. I once did that to a customs officer. Didn't end well. She waited. When the ruler of 12 sectors waits outside your apartment, you let her in or become a historical warning. Jonah stepped aside. The apartment shrank around her. The patched furniture, the exposed wiring, the faint smell of coolant and regret. Kale looked around, not with judgment but curiosity. This is where you live? She asked. Temporarily, Jonah said. For how long? 9 years. She nodded slowly. She held up the letter. Explain. Jonah stared at it. I can explain parts of it. Which parts? The confident ones. That made her smile. They sat, Kale on the edge of a chair that had never hosted royalty, Jonah on the couch that protested quietly. Did you intend for me to read it? She asked. No, Jonah said immediately. That letter was supposed to die quietly. And yet, Kale said, here I am. Jonah rubbed his face. The universe hates me. She studied him. Were you lying? He hesitated, then shook his head. I was drunk and stupid, but the feelings were real. Kale folded the letter carefully. They mattered to me. That hit harder than anger ever could. You're not angry? Jonah asked. I am tired, she said, of people who say nothing while pretending to say everything. They talked. About engines, about crowns, about how power insulated people from truth. Jonah made jokes when he was nervous. Kale noticed. You joke when afraid, she said. I joke when alive, Jonah replied. An alert chimed softly from her wrist. Her expression tightened. They are searching, she said. For you. For deviation, she corrected, for me. That night the station's hum changed. Security drones multiplied, traffic rerouted, patrol vessels slid into orbit without announcement. They will find me, Kale said quietly. Jonah leaned back. Great, my apartment is now treason. Yes, she said, I am sorry. Don't be, he said. This is the most interesting week I've had. She laughed short, sharp, real. They decided to do the one thing no one expected. Nothing dramatic. No escape. Just time. Kale wanted to see the engine decks. I want to understand, she said, what keeps everything moving. You'll hate it, Jonah warned. I doubt that. She hated it. The noise, the heat, the smell. This place is hostile, she said. It builds character, Jonah replied, handing her gloves, and bad habits. Mechanics stared openly, then wisely looked away. Kale watched Jonah work, watched him talk to machines like stubborn animals. These engines fail constantly, she observed. Yes, Jonah said, that's how we know they're honest. Later, eating food that was mostly legal, Kale grew quiet. If I return, she said, this never happens again. And if you do, Jonah asked. Many things will break. Broken things can be fixed, Jonah said. She smiled sadly, not all of them. The sirens hummed louder that night. They are close, Kale said. Jonah felt fear twist in his chest. Beneath it, resolve. So, he said, hypothetically, hiding a queen is treason. Yes. Good, he said. I've always wanted to commit a memorable crime. She looked at him for a long moment. You would risk everything. He shrugged. I already wrote the letter. She reached out and rested her hand over his. For centuries, she said softly, people have told me who I am. You never did. The operatives arrived the next morning. Sleek armor, neutral voices, polite menace. Your Majesty, the lead operative said, you are requested to return. Requested, Jonah muttered. Kale stepped forward. On what grounds? Deviation, the operative replied. Destabilization. Jonah snorted. You forgot bad coffee. The visor turned toward him. Identify yourself. No, Kale said sharply. He is not part of this. Command filled her voice, ancient and absolute. The operatives recalibrated. They escorted her away. Before she left, Kale rested her forehead briefly against Jonah. You changed something, she whispered. Sorry, he said. She smiled, then she was gone. The station returned to normal. Jonah returned to work. Days passed. The universe pretended nothing happened. Then his terminal chimed. Unencrypted. Kale appeared on the screen, no crown, seated casually. They tried to punish me, she said. And Jonah asked. I declined. She had invoked forgotten laws, reframed deviation as discovery. You caused chaos, Jonah said proudly. I caused truth, she replied. The dominion shifted. Slowly, reluctantly. Councils changed. Voices without titles were heard. They called it the Rook exception. Kale visited openly weeks later. No secrecy, no hiding. The station watched as an empress walked beside a mechanic. No one bows, Kale said. They'd trip, Jonah replied. Later, sitting on the infamous couch, Kale spoke softly. You showed me what honesty looks like. You showed me I wasn't invisible, Jonah said. The universe did not laugh this time. It listened. And for once, it learned. End.